Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll.
Writing letters from the coast, where my words travel that far.
Hey there, time travelers. I hope you're doing very well. If not, I sure hope your day gets a lot better. I want to start off by apologizing for my last video. For whatever reason, Sony decided to block the whole video for using a couple clips from an old movie. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that up on the Patreon if anybody's interested. The link is down there in the description. And if we can get a few members going, then maybe we'll start a private Discord where we can sit and chat about the 1980s as long as we want. But enough about me. Now, I'm not sure how to describe the shows I'm talking about. Yeah, they were on primetime at some point, and they came on after the Saturday morning cartoons and before all the stuff like the news would come on. There was just this little sweet spot in the middle of the day when you're sitting at home with nothing else going on and you turn on your TV and it would be these kind of shows. So I guess we'll call this TV shows for a boring weekend day. First up, I want to talk about BJ and the Bear. BJ and the Bear was an American television series that aired from 1979 to 1981. So it was very early in the 80s and it didn't last very long, but I sure do remember it. It was a comedy drama, I guess is what you would call it, and it followed the adventures of BJ McKay, a trucker, because let me tell you, in the 1980s, truckers were the epitome of cool. CB radio, lingo, getting your handle, it was what it was all about.
Just got lonely for your ugly face.
Oh, dear God.
Anyway, BJ was played by Greg Evigan. The twist to this show is that he had a pet chimpanzee named Bear that truckered with him. And during their trucking adventures, they would find a lot of challenges along the road. And I just remember the way he obtained Bear, the chimpanzee, was he actually won him in a poker game. And Bear provided a lot of comic relief, but also played a significant role in helping BJ out of tight spots. This series combined elements of action, comedy, and drama, with BJ getting involved in various situations and brawls. The show often focused on BJ helping people in need, solving problems, and facing off against various adversaries. Aside from Greg Evigan, you would have Claude Akins as Sheriff Elroy P. Lobo, who you might know from another series called The Misadventures of Sheriff Lobo, and Eric Server as Lieutenant Jim Steiger. BJ and the Bear was part of a large television universe created by Glenn Larson. While the show had a dedicated fan base, including me, and enjoyed popularity during its initial run, it eventually came to an end in 1981 after 3 short seasons and 48 episodes. And while I may not watch it today, young Kevin was all excited about this show. Another show that would often come on, I would say Sunday at around noon, maybe a little later before, depending on where you live, would be Chips. And Chips was an American television series that aired from 1977 to 1983. And Chips stood for the California Highway Patrol. You would have Larry Wilcox, who played John Baker. John is a motorcycle officer and former professional motocross racer. He's depicted as the more serious and responsible of the two main characters. And of course we had Frank Poncherello, played by Eric Estrada. Ponch is also a motorcycle officer but has a more laid-back and humorous personality. He often gets involved in comedic situations and has a reputation for being a ladies' man. And the plot of Chips was pretty basic. It focused on the 2 lives of these 2 officers in the California Highway Patrol and included action, drama, and humor. While many episodes involved the officers dealing with small things such as traffic accidents, there would be high-speed chases and other incidents on the road. The series also explored the camaraderie and friendship between John and Ponch.
All right, are there any questions? Baker, Poncherello.
So when the sequence of the meters...
Let me ask you, Chair. Do we understand you correctly? When it's red, we stop, and when it's green, we go?
Sit.
It was really popular during its initial run and has since become a cult classic, even spawning a movie that most people didn't really like.
It's when a guy is super embarrassed about taking his third dump before 11 a.m., so he makes fun of his partner's shirt, deflecting.
And it's remembered for its combination of action, comedy, and of course the relationship of John and Ponch. The show ran for a total of 6 seasons from 1977 to 1983, with a total of 139 episodes, so not too bad. And of course, although the show is remembered fondly by many, it wasn't really a realistic crime, police, highway patrol drama, and it definitely took some creative liberties with the law enforcement procedures.
All right, let's get back to work.
Hey, you guys.
You think the elders would mind?
I doubt it.
Shazam!
Talk about superheroes. Now, quite a few of these shows started in the 70s, but they run during the daytime in the 1980s from syndication. And that's where I would see them. Similar to Gilligan's Island, Brady Bunch, although they were not created in the 80s, they were very much part of the 1980s life. And with that, I'm going to talk about a couple superhero shows. The first one is Shazam. Now, Shazam from 1974 was a live-action television series about the superhero Shazam. The series followed the adventures of a young man named Billy Batson before Zachary Levi took the helm. It was played by Michael Gray, and he could transform into a superhero, Captain Marvel, by uttering the magic word Shazam. Each episode featured a moral lesson and the message suitable for young audiences. The mentor character was played by Les Tremayne. It was unique to the TV series because it did not originate from the Shazam comics, and it wasn't in the newer movies. And the background and origin of his relationship to Billy was never quite explained in the TV show. And after its original network run from 1974 to 1976, it was brought back as reruns in the 1980s. And a handful of episodes even appeared on Nickelodeon and Nick at Night, and sometimes on TV Land. Looking back now, it sure does look a little silly, but as a kid in the 1980s, this was one of our first tastes at a superhero live-action show. And I want to clarify, in the 80s, because I know Superman with George Reeves was a thing, and there was plenty of other live-action TV shows. Looking at you, Batman.
Chosen from among all others by the immortal elders Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, Mercury, Billy Batson and his mentor travel the highways and byways of the land on a never-ending mission to right wrongs, to develop understanding, and to seek justice for all. In time of dire need, young Billy has been granted the power by the immortals to summon awesome forces at the utterance of a single word.
Shazam!
Now let's talk about the Amazing Spider-Man and those amazing special effects. Again, it was rerun during the day in the 1980s, but it originally ran from 1977 to 1979. Now, if you thought the special effects in Shazam were bad, just look at these. Spider-Man is a live-action television series that aired in the late 1970s from 1977 to 1979. The show only ran for a couple seasons, for 13 episodes in the first season, and a second season with only 7 additional episodes. We had Nicholas Hammond as Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Hammond portrayed the dual role of the mild-mannered photographer Peter Parker and his superhero alter ego Spider-Man. And The Amazing Spider-Man followed that classic origin story of Spider-Man. Peter Parker, a young photographer for the Daily Bugle, is bitten by a radioactive spider, granting him superhuman abilities. As Spider-Man, he fights crimes and villains in New York City. And it did feature other characters from the popular franchise, such as J. Jonah Jameson, played by David White, the editor of the Daily Bugle, and Aunt May, played by Mae Mercer. The show was produced on a relatively modest budget, which would account for the poor special effects. Because of that, some scenes like Spider-Man's web-swinging scenes were limited to the technology of the era. Despite that, it garnered a fan base and a following, and it remains a nostalgic piece of television history for many fans of Marvel Comics.
He got a better act than you.
And last on our superhero list, we have Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby as the Incredible Hulk and David Banner. The Incredible Hulk is a live-action television series that aired in the late 1970s and continued into the 1980s. And it is based on the Marvel comic character Hulk, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. The show starred Bill Bixby as David Banner and Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk. The series premiered in 1978 and continued until 1982 and had 5 seasons with a total of 82 episodes. The Incredible Hulk followed the story of David Banner, a scientist who is exposed to gamma radiation during a lab experiment gone wrong. As a result, he undergoes a transformation into the Hulk whenever his emotions intensify. Driven by desire to find him a cure for his condition, Banner travels from place to place helping people in need, while eluding the pursuit of investigative reporter Jack McGee, played by Jack Colvin, who is determined to uncover the truth about the mysterious Hulk. And it featured a mix of drama, action, and morality tales, with each episode focusing on Banner's attempt to control the Hulk within and find a cure for his condition. And who can't forget this classic line?
People, let me tell you about my best friend. He's a warm-hearted person who loved me till the end.
Whoops, sorry, wrong clip.
Porter. Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
It remains one of the most beloved and iconic superhero television series of its era. The show is praised for its character-driven storytelling, Bill Bixby's portrayal of the tormented Dr. David Banner, and Lou Ferrigno's physical performance as Hulk. The success of the series contributed to the enduring popularity of the Hulk character and later adaptations in film and other media. The show is remembered fondly by fans, and the theme music, composed by Joe Hamill, is particularly iconic.
Dr. David Banner, physician, scientist, searching for a way to tap into the hidden strengths that all humans have. Then an accidental overdose of gamma radiation alters his body chemistry. And now when David Banner grows angry or outraged, a startling metamorphosis occurs.
We're still friends, aren't we? I sure hope so after all these years.
Alright, Couple more for you here. I know I said I was done with superheroes, but this one might count as a superhero. You tell me. And we're talking about the $6 Million Man, or the Bionic Man. It aired from 1974 to 1978. The show is based on the novel Cyborg by Martin Caidin and was created by Kenneth Johnson. It starred Lee Majors, who you might also know as the Fall Guy, as Colonel Steve Austin, an astronaut who becomes a bionic man after a near-fatal accident. The series premiered on ABC in 1974 and ran for 5 seasons, and of course was on reruns during the day and the weekends in the 80s. Majors played the central character Steve Austin, an astronaut and test pilot who is severely injured in a crash. He undergoes groundbreaking bionic surgeries, receiving artificial limbs, an artificial eye, and enhanced strength and speed. And the pilot starts with Colonel Steve Austin's crash during a test flight. With these enhancements, Steve Austin becomes a secret agent working for the Office of Scientific Intelligence, or the OSI, tackling various missions that often involved espionage, rescue operations, and other high-stakes situations. The show is known for the iconic opening narration, which begins with, "We can rebuild him. We have the technology. We can make him better than he was, better, stronger, faster."
Know what to do. 5 million. Shanti.
Better, stronger, faster.
And I think one of the most clever aspects of this show is how they portrayed his superpowers. His bionic abilities, including his use of super speed and strength, were highlighted through slow motion effects and sound effects to emphasize his enhanced abilities.
Victory!
And the $6 Million Man was followed by a spin-off series titled The Bionic Woman, which featured Lindsay Wagner as Jeannie Summers. Another great show that I would see in reruns on Saturday afternoon. And they would often share the universe with having crossover episodes where they were both featured in the same episode. And both the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman have left a lasting legacy on the concept of bionic enhancements, and they continue to be referenced in various forms of media. So that's pretty cool. And we're gonna go ahead and stop right there. I have a lot of more shows I want to talk about, for example Dukes of Hazzard, but we'll get there, I promise. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the intro music, please click on that link in the description and help support indie bands. Till next time, this is Kevin.
Kevin? Of course he does.
Call me Kevin.
So what's up, Kevin? Hey, Kevin!
Kevin!
Have you been introduced to Kevin?
No, which one's Kevin?
Bye.